Welcome to Biz Jet TV. My name is Fabrizio Poli. Welcome to this channel all about business aviation. And yes, we have now broken the barrier of the 10,000 subscribers. We're now past that. We are rising up through the ranks on YouTube. This channel is dedicated to private aviation, all about private jets. And this is the purpose here, is to educate people and make people realize that the private jet is not a luxury item, it is a business tool. And so this is what we do here on Biz Jet TV. This episode today is dedicated to Bombardier. A lot of you have been asking me about what's happening with Bombardier. Should I buy a Global Express or not? What's happening to the other aircraft? What's your take? What do you know? So we'll be focusing on that today. If you haven't subscribed to this channel on Biz Jet TV, just subscribe to Biz Jet TV. Click on the bell so you get notified when we publish a new video. And also I want to mention my other channel, Quantum Action. Those of you that have asked me about the books behind me, yes, I do read a lot, and I think it's really important today to keep reading, to be ahead of the game, both fiction and non-fiction. And I talk about this on Quantum Action, so I encourage you to go and have a look at that channel and subscribe to that one too. So let's get into today's episode all about Bombardier. So off we go. Get into the episode about Bombardier, but before we get into Bombardier itself, I think it's important to have a bit of an analysis of the geopolitical situation. This is also a very, very important thing to do when considering buying a private jet. When I speak to clients, I find it very important for me to understand the client's psychology, to understand the business that they have, what's behind the business, where they're going to be going, what's happening in those countries, because it allows me to have a bigger picture and also to be able to advise the client in the best possible way. So if we're looking at Bombardier, the first thing we have to look at, if we look at the last 5-6 years of the Canadian economy, now Canada is a very rich country. When I say rich, they have a lot of oil, they have a lot of gold and silver and lots of other minerals. They also have a lot of drinking water. 25% of the drinking water in the world is actually in Canada. Canada is the second largest country in the world after Russia. It's the second largest country in the world, but there's only 35 million people living in Canada. Now, if you look at the United States of America, which is smaller than Canada, where they have 350 million people, that's 10 times the population of Canada. So there's lots and lots of space in Canada. They make good things like maple syrup. Canadian people are very friendly, very welcoming. I've been out there a number of times. Always enjoy visiting Canada. But it's sad to see Canada go the way it has been going over the last few years. And as the economy has gone down because of the policies of the leftist government, and sorry if you are leftist, I'm not, and I'll be just very open out there. But you know, these type of policies, whenever they have been implemented throughout history, it has always killed business and killed the economy. We see this that happened in Venezuela. Venezuela is another very rich country with lots of resources, but you know, thanks to socialist government, it's ruined the whole country. And Canada need to be very, very careful. So Bombardier, who make a number of things, and of course aviation, they just recently sold their train business to a company called Alstom for $8.2 billion. Now, this is obviously helping them because the company was not doing well at all. They also developed the C-Series regional jet, which is an airplane, a very good airplane, side stick, and that flies between 130 and 160 passengers. They've sold that project to Airbus, and now it's called the Airbus A220. And incidentally, it's doing very well. It's receiving lots of orders. It's a very good airplane. Bombardier done an excellent job there. So they sold that off. They also sold their turboprop aircraft arm off to Mitsubishi. So they've been selling bits off to sort of bring in the money to pay off the debt. And now there's talks of them selling their business jet arm of the company, which incidentally has been valued by Jefferies $6.7 billion. And they have the Learjet, they have the Challenger range, and then they have the Global Express range, these three ranges. Now, apparently Textron Aviation had been talking to Bombardier about acquiring them, but they're only interested in the Challenger series, which comprises of the Challenger 605 or 650 as it's called now, and the Challenger 350 aircraft, and then the whole Global Express family, which is the Global now 5500, 6500 and 7500. The Learjet, which was acquired from Learjet a number of years ago, they then developed the Lear 75, which is a very new aeroplane, different to other Learjets. I personally think the Lear 75 is a good aeroplane. They've done a good job. to improve the Learjet series. So I'm not sure if Learjet's going to survive, or if somebody's going to come along and just buy that bit of the company and take that maybe back to America, and breathe a bit of new air into it. But certainly there is a market for the Challenger aircraft and also the Global Express. Incidentally, the Challenger 350 has been the most sold aircraft in the mid-size market, but it is being challenged now by Embraer with the Praetor 500 and 600, which has the same engine, same type of mission profile. The Praetor 600 with a bit more range can get you across the Atlantic in one go. So they are receiving a bit of it's a bit of a challenge there for the Challenger series. So that's interesting. So that's what's happening there. But I'd like to focus now on the Global Express family, because this is a segment of the market that is going to be growing a lot, because it's a long distance aeroplane, and we have 5 different aeroplanes here. We've got the Global 7500, which I've covered before. You can click on the link above to go and see the video on that aeroplane. That's a 7,700 mile aeroplane. Very interesting. It's large. About 21 of them have been delivered so far. Cabin height 6.25 meters. Feet, not meters. 6.25 feet. And the width of 8.17. Cabin length 54.4. So it's the largest of the Global Expresses, and it's got a 7,700 mile nautical mile range. So that's very, very good. And now Gulfstream have come on with the G700 to challenge the Global 7500. It is actually being test flown at the moment, so it would be interesting to see how these two compete in the market space. But that aircraft can be purchased. There are 2 or 3 kicking around on the pre-owned market. You can buy for about $65 to $68 million. Otherwise, it's $73 million for a new one. And that's a Global 7500. Then we go into, and that is a separate type rating, separate qualification for the pilots. Then the whole Global Express family, ranging from the 5000, the 6000, Global Express, the Global XRS, and the new Global, this Global 5500 and 6500, which are variants of the 5000 and the 6000, where they've tweaked the engines, changed the wing, improved the cabin, and a little bit on the avionics, given it more range. And they are excellent aircraft too. But the Global 5000, there are 222 of them out there. The Global 6000, 293. They're the newer versions compared to the Global Express, with 145 out there, and the XRS, which is 165. Now, what's the difference between these 4 aircraft? Well, the cabin width is the same. It's and the height, so it's 6.25 on the height, 8.17 on the width, exactly the same as the Global 7500. I think 7700 because of the mileage. But the cabin length, obviously, is shorter than the 7500. So the Global 5000 has a length of 42.47, while the 6000, the Global Express, and the XRS are 48.35. So if we just want to summarize that, the Global 6000, the Global Express, and the Global XRS, the cabin size is exactly the same. The 5000 is slightly shorter, but the length, the width and the height is the same. So that's important, because I know as passengers, that's what you do, is you walk up the stairs and you turn right, and you want to be able to be in a spacious cabin. In particular, if you're flying for 10 hours, you want space. Now, how many people? The baggage volume is 195 square feet on all of them, including the 7500. Seats, we've got 14 in the 7500, 13 on the 5000, the 6000, and 12 to 13 on the Global Express or the XRS, depending on the cabin configuration. That can change, of course. And there's 8. It sleeps 8 people on the 7500, 7 on all the others. Sometimes 6 on the Global Express and the XRS. And when I say sleep, what they do is they bring in these jet beds, and you've got 2 seats facing each other, and they put the jet bed on top of it, and they make up a bed with cushions and everything, and you can sleep, and it works very well. The range, as I said, 7,700 miles for the Global 7500. Then you've got 5,350 nautical miles for the Global 5000. And then you've got the Global 6000 with 6,080 miles, Global Express with 6,125, and the XRS is the one with the longest range at 6,225 nautical miles. Bear in mind, the Global Express and the XRS are older. Some of them are even 20 years old. So bear that in mind, but you can buy some of these airplanes completely refurbished for less than $10 million, which is interesting and can be a good buy. But as I always say, when you are going to buy something that's a little bit older, you have to be careful. Price range, we are talking anywhere between $7.5 million to $45 million for these aircraft. So that's interesting. If you want to know about the 5500 and 6500, you can click on the link above. There's a video separate about those. So it's important to understand the Global Express family and what these aircraft can do. Passengers tend to like them a lot because they're comfortable, they're spacious, cabin-wise, they've got a good range, and that's why passengers like them, because it's just got a big cabin. And that's why Gulfstream have started to make their cabins a bit more spacious to compete with Bombardier. So if Bombardier does sell to Textron, I think Textron are going to be doing a good deal in bringing in the whole Global Express family to into their fleet of aircraft, and I think they'll do a good job. Or maybe Bombardier will decide to keep these aircraft. I mean, they're going to make some good money on them. You can sit down with Bombardier and negotiate and get some good deals on the aircraft. But as I said, we just have to keep our eye on this company. I don't think it is risky to buy a Bombardier Global Express. I think it's a good buy. Right now, with all this chit-chat going on in the market and that, there are some good bargains on some of these aircraft out there. So, contact your aviation professional, which will be able to source something for you. And bear in mind, I know a lot of you go on AvBuyer and on Controller, and then you ring up and you try and see if you can buy an aircraft. I do not recommend doing that, and I'm not saying that because I want to promote myself. But what you should be doing is you should be engaging the services of a professional aviation broker, whether it's myself or somebody else. You should be talking to a number of them and seeing which one fits you. And that is simply because a lot of these aircraft are sold. I would say a good 40% of these aircraft are actually sold on the, so to speak, the off-market. So they're off-market aircraft. And these aircraft will never be on Controller or AvBuyer, because they're sold very quietly. It's a bit like yachts, a bit like certain types of real estate or art or classic cars. That is a very particular market. A lot of that is moved through word of mouth. I get people contacting me every week with aircraft that are for sale but not for sale. Can I make a few phone calls and see if there's anybody out there that is interested? Now, if you do contact me and we do have a conversation, as I said, the first conversation is free. Do not expect me to send you some off-market aircraft. I may send you a couple of pictures, but you're not going to get all the full information, because as you understand, I have to keep the information confidential. But once we've signed up and we have an agreement and you've paid a retainer fee and you put some money in escrow, then I know you're serious and you're a qualified buyer. At that point, I will then be comfortable enough to be able to share the information of these off-market aircraft. Now, I'm not saying that if you go to the off-market market, so to speak, that you're going to get a better deal than the aircraft that are on the market, but I think it's important to have an understanding of the overall picture. And in this case, we're talking Global Express, the Global Express market, and the opportunities out there. There are also opportunities with banks, where some of these aircraft get repossessed. I get called from time to time from banks telling me they need to move this aircraft quick, and those can be purchased at a good price. So there's all this kind of thing, and this is why you need to engage with a professional that's connected to the market, got their ear to the ground, because they will know what's available, and also they will also know what planes are selling for. Because telling someone that this is worth $73 million when the last one sold for 69, but you don't know because you're not in this sector of business, well, you need to know these things so that you know that you're paying the right value for something. So that's really all from me on this episode about Bombardier and Bombardier aircraft. I hope I answered some of your questions. And if you have any more, just ping them below, and let's get some commentary going here under this video. And also, if you want to contact me, as I said, you can email me. I'll book you in. The first call is complimentary. And that's really all from me. Just subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to Biz Jet TV. We're putting a video out there at least once a week, sometimes more, depending on what's happening in the news and what information we come across. Then we will publish more than once a week. So that's what's happening here. So subscribe, give us a thumbs up, comment below, and also have a look at these other videos up here. I'm sure you'll find them very interesting. Lots of stuff going on about supersonic, hypersonic, flying with rockets, and also this other video here about 3 jets under $10 million, which I'm sure you'll find interesting. And that's all from Fabrizio Poli on Biz Jet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.